Everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Way Through News meteorologist Brian Good on this Friday. Happy Friday to you. We're heading to the weekend. And some good and bad news. We've been covering this for a while on the blog and on TV about the changes coming our way. Still dealing with, though, this same front. It is really kind of the same setup. Not exactly the same low pressure, but it is the same setup, if you will, that was responsible for the flooding that took place in Louisiana. The front that came through, that pulled in that low, gave them all that heavy rain. And then that front has just been working its way from St. Louis to northwest here of Indianapolis early in the week, and now it's still on the map. I mean, it won't give up. It just won't give up. So, having said that, today the moisture plume in general is going to hug the Kentucky-Tennessee border as it's starting to feel the effects now of our next front heading our way from the northwest. But notice the northern fringes of that. A little bit uncertain how much of that could develop into thunderstorm activity, so we're going to have to keep the rain chance in the forecast today. We're going to keep it about 20%, but I got to stress, the more south you go, that chance is going to go up. So if you got plans to head to Bowling Green, Nashville, Cookeville, Tennessee, Carthage, Tennessee, heading toward Hendersonville, you will likely run into some downpours today. If you're heading north, beautiful weather, really. So, having said that, notice carefully, if you look on the radar, see all that green? I mean, there's a lot of it. We saw this yesterday, too. The cloud deck is so low at the moment, and it's got moisture in it. It's suspended moisture, being the fog that we have, that the radar is detecting it, and the fog is moving around. All right, fog doesn't necessarily burn off; it lifts. So as it moves around, as the moisture fields do, the radar is detecting that, and you get some wild movements there. So kind of cool to see that on the radar, because I got it on sensitive mode, so you can see all that movement and shaking going on. But it's fog and drizzle is what we're talking about. All right, severe potential for tomorrow. Or today it's going to be to our north. Let me show you tomorrow. Let me get that loaded here, and it's still marginal, and I think that's a good thing to have, a marginal, because it's not exactly the best of wind fields. The wind fields do get a little more impressive around Indy towards Chicago. I'm not going to dive into all the model data on that. There's no sense in it because it's not that big of an event to get that detailed on. Although I will say that instability could get high enough tomorrow afternoon that we may actually have stronger thunderstorms way ahead of the front for the afternoon activity than we will with the actual front. And I'll show you that now on Futurecast. For today, a few pop-ups developing in the area. I don't know if really the models are going to get a handle on that moisture plume to our south, so just keep in mind we'll take it hour by hour, but I think the idea of more south you are, the more the chance will go up. Now, the model's also not doing great on the flow. The increase in dew points once again later tonight, and the southwest wind especially really ramp up. At times it shows thunderstorm activity near sunrise, sometimes it doesn't. I've seen this many times where it actually will light up with radar activity. So I'm going to keep that rain chance in overnight tonight. Don't be surprised, especially if you live south and west of Louisville, you're going to hear a rumble of thunder that could wake you up near sunrise on Saturday, because I can see that potential there. Most of us will be dry, but again, I see the potential for what we call the warm air advection of the downpours. Now, here's where I think we could have some stronger activity in the afternoon hours. Instability does grow as we get some heating of the day, and that could set the stage for some gusty thunderstorms. And if we do, that will certainly take a lot of the umph out of the front that moves in around midnight or so from its activity and strength. So, yes, it could have some gusty thunderstorms with the front when it passes through, but if we get the afternoon activity, I think that really will lessen the effect even more so. If we don't get the afternoon activity, or it's not as widespread, even that, we are still looking at maybe an isolated 1 or 2 with the actual front moving in. This is not a major deal when it comes to severe weather, just heavy downpours. The good news is the front's going to wipe everything out. We get rid of that boundary finally and get some nice, refreshing air from Canada. Thank you, Canada. Temperature struggling to hit 80 degrees. I think we will probably in the city, but a lot of you will not. So beautiful weather on Sunday, and it continues even as we head into early next week. I didn't mean to show this. Sorry about that. It's a feature cast, kind of saying the same thing I just did. Let me get past it real quick. Maybe because I'm not going to restart this video again. You guys hear me ramble all the time on these videos, and I'm sure you don't want to hear me keep talking. All right, so now let's move on to what I think is going to be an issue down the road. I mentioned the cool down coming our way. Should last Sunday, Monday, part of Tuesday, but then by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, things begin to change. And the tropics will be watched too, because we got several little waves moving through, 3 systems really. This is Fiona, Tropical Storm Fiona, forecast to curve, by the way, as it approaches Bermuda. Why is it curvy? Well, a couple reasons. One, you got the easterlies here, and once it gets higher in latitude, thanks to the lovely Coriolis effect, It gets into the westerlies, detects that, and automatically it gets pulled and recurves. Now, the only way you can really prevent that from happening is you get a high pressure here that will block these systems, and they get no choice but to keep going in the easterly flow, and then they eventually get caught up in the westerlies, and they end up being pulled in the Gulf, or they cross the Florida and then turn. They always will turn, though, when they detect the main wind belt going west to east across the country into the Atlantic. It's turning already, though, because we do have a high, but the high is centered more in this area. And so any tropical system is either going to have a choice to turn, or it's going to have a choice to perhaps go into the Caribbean, depending on where it forms and how long it can stay in that east flow before it feels that pull from the high. The reason why I'm mentioning this is that we're going to have a trough that is going to be building at the same time as we in the next week. A front is going to move down. Questions on this front are going to be how far can it make it before the high, which is forecast to not move much at all, will take control, just like we're seeing now with the stalled front. Now, if the high is weak enough, especially in the western side, the ridge is weak, as we say, then this front can move all the way to the south. We get another trough, and we get a chance on the 29th or so of August to get another cool down like we're going to see on Sunday and Monday. However, I'm skeptical of that based on what I'm seeing here. There's a potential that we could see this front get stalled over area. If we do, the stage is set for more rounds of rain and heavy rain and tropical downpours. Something I'm sure you guys are excited to hear about. Long way off, but as always in the earliest alert outlook, we give you a heads up and we will fine tune it. Now, here's the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for the fall season. Get this all the way into November. It is showing above average, far above average, I should say, in the southwest, and then around average in the Gulf Coast, and barely above average. At least our potential to get above average, I should say, is about 40% for us. Now, keep in mind, you look at this and say, oh my gosh, it's going to be so warm this fall. These maps are often misunderstood. You have to keep in mind that our average is going to be dropping as we head into the fall season. So this is saying that we have a 40% chance of us getting above that average mark. But when averages drop down into the 60s, it really isn't that much of a warm spell. Although 60 doesn't sound bad. It just means that it should be fairly average, really, season the way it's looking here for the fall season. Now, will we get cold shots or cool shots? Yes, I could see that happening. Temperatures in the fall season typically are average for our area. We do have a couple warm spells in September, and sometimes in October, 1 or 2 may happen, but usually our last 90-degree days in September. But what's interesting is the precipitation pattern. They're going with drier than average, something we really have not experienced. And normally we do. October is our driest month in Louisville. But the past few Octobers have been wild. Either severe weather or we've had the effects of Hurricane Sandy hitting the East Coast that have taken place. We've had snow. 2 Octobers since I've been here. We've had snow flurries that have taken place. Even immeasurable snow at Tricks. But they're going with drier than normal. Now, I'm not going to go in a lot of detail in the fall season yet. I'll hash that out once we get into September. But interesting to see those maps coming out already from CPC. So thought I would just feed your brains with it. Have a good weekend, everybody. Kevin and Andy, or actually Andy's back in later today. Actually, Kevin and Andy. Sorry, I get it right. Kevin's at the fair later today, so make sure to watch that. And then Andy will be on later on as well. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. I'll see you right and early on Way Through Nest Sunrise. Lauren Jones will be back, by the way, next week. Stay tuned.